Almost everything that you've heard about defending your dissertation is either wrong or missing the point. Your defense is not an interrogation. It's not a defense of whether you deserve to be there. It's a specific type of conversation. And once you understand why you and your committee are meeting in that room, the whole thing stops feeling terrifying. I'm Dr. Steve Tippins. I've been in academia for 35 years, and I've served on over 300 dissertation committees. And I've seen over 400 dissertation defenses. In the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you what I and other committee members are actually looking for. So I'm going to break this down into two sets of information. First, preparing for the defense, and second, what types of questions you'll get during the defense. One of the things I see people do too much during a final defense is they spend a lot of time on talking about their first 3 chapters. The introduction, what literature we used, what methodology you decided to use. Your committee's already approved that. You don't need to spend a lot of time on that. At a lot of schools, you get 20 to 30 minutes somewhere in there. Well, if you've spent 15 to 18 minutes, which I've seen done, talking about the literature, things like that, you don't get a lot of time to talk about what you found. And that's why you've gathered there. At the most, I like to think of spend less than a third of your time going over what's already been approved and 2/3 of your time talking about what you found and what it all means. You should talk to your chair before your final defense. And your chair, either unprodded or if you ask, should be able to share with you some types of things to be prepared for, either questions your chair will ask or questions your chair knows other people will ask. Also may tell you what they're expecting from you in attire or show up on time, things like that. I've seen people show up late for their own dissertation, which means you've got 2, 3, 4, 5 committee members just waiting. And after 5 or 10 minutes, they tend to get bored or soured or not have anything to talk to each other about and start thinking more critically about you. So, that's one thing is show up on time. In fact, be a little early. Wait for them instead of them waiting for you. During your writing process, you sent copies of your material out to your chair and out to your committee members. And certain committee members probably commented on certain areas more often than not. Be ready to answer questions from them about those areas because those are most likely areas they have deep interest in. So go back through and be prepared for that type of scrutiny from specific committee members. I also want to encourage you to talk to students who've gone through this ahead of you in the process. Now, it may be difficult to find some of them, but if you do know them, ask them what their experience was like. Ask them what their questions were like in their defense. Many schools record dissertations, so you can look at a recorded dissertation defense before you go through yours instead of just walking in. I know when I did my dissertation defense, first of all, I was the only person in my program and the first person in my program. So I was the first defense ever in that program. So there were no recordings and no committee was going to tell me what they'd asked before. So fortunately, I had a good experience, but it was, a lot of unknowns. Your goal ahead of time is to get rid of as many unknowns as you can. Once you've done this type of preparation, I want to encourage you. Most dissertation defenses are based on a PowerPoint slide. Don't put too many words on the slide for a couple of reasons. One, they read faster than you do. So it means they're ahead of you and you've lost them. Also, if there are fewer words on a slide, it's easier if you get pulled in one direction or another direction or get lost. It's easier to go back and just look at a slide and see a key word and pull yourself back. So you keep control of the presentation better. So now, what types of questions are they going to ask you? You may be asked again, okay, so why did you use this methodology? So you get to say why this quantitative or qualitative approach was best. Yes, they approved it beforehand, but they may just be going back to check to see if you really understood what you did. Following up with that, why did you use this type of analysis? Why not another type of analysis? And this is an area where you get to talk about the statistics or how you developed your themes. When you make a plan, that's great in your proposal, but a lot of times there are minor changes. Wow, I found out that the data that I had didn't meet the underlying assumption of this test. So I went and used another test that the underlying assumptions were met. The results were more powerful. What this shows your committee members is, okay, you were able to critically handle the situation and come up with an appropriate solution. So be ready if there's minor deviations to talk about minor deviations from what you've done. You may get questions about your population and sample as well. Again, minor deviations. I worked with someone once who had approval to do a certain sample, and then they couldn't get that sample. So they had to go get a different sample and get approval to do it from their chair, and maybe the committee wasn't that deeply involved. And in this case, they ended up going to a third location that was beyond what was originally proposed. So there was some discussion in their defense about, okay, I went here because, and here's what I tried. They want to know, okay, you didn't do what you said you were going to do. Why? What did you try? What did work? What didn't work? Because remember, a dissertation, the purpose is to show you know how to do research. And in research, it doesn't always go in a straight line. So they want to know what you did, what thought process you went through to do the things that were different than what were originally laid out in the proposal. A big question you're going to get, a big theme of questions, what have you learned from this process? And that can show up as, okay, what would you tell yourself at the beginning if you could go back? What would you tell someone else? Or how would you do research differently? Or how would you have approached this topic differently now that you have done this? So they're trying to tap into, okay, how have you matured as a researcher during this process? So be prepared to talk about, okay, I did it this way and here's why. And wow, next time, here's what I would do. In addition to that, what are you going to do with these results? Are you going to publish it? Are you going to continue on? Which leads us into the so what? You found results. What does this mean? Not only are you going to publish, but what does this mean to the community of academics? What does this mean to the applied world? What do your results mean there? How are you going to follow this up? How are you going to get this out to the world so that they know this? And they want to know this is more than just well, I've done this. I'm locking the door behind me. I'm never touching this again. Even if that's the way you feel, they want to know that you're going to continue on this pursuit. Okay. I will tell you, I told my dissertation chair as I was getting close to my final defense, I said, I am so sick of research right now. I'm going to publish 5 times in my life. I'm going to find an academic job. I'm going to publish 5 times. I'm going to get tenure, and then I'm done. I'm never going to do this again. And he just looked at me and with a kind of a wry smile and said, oh, okay, we'll see. Stay in touch. He has since passed away, but the last time I saw him, I was able to say, yeah, okay, you were right. I've published more than 35 times now, and it's close to double that by now. So be prepared for what's coming. Know that you're going to have an academic life beyond this, but your defense is confirmatory. You shouldn't get to your defense unless your committee is looking at saying, yes, you've made it. We just want to confirm that you're ready to move forward. And if looking for support anywhere along the line, please click the link below to join our free dissertation help community.